Hello everyone, my name is Christine Doris, and today I'll be walking you through an assignment which I was tasked. Now, I was tasked with selecting an art period, and based on that art period, identify three factors that influence the period. Alright, now I would have selected the Renaissance period. And when we think about the Renaissance period, what comes to mind? Things like it was a very classical period, it was a very humanistic period, it was a very extravagant period, and it was very exquisite. Alright? Now, you might be asking yourself, what is the Renaissance period? Here is where I'll walk you through what the period entails. Then we'll look at the three factors that influence this period. Alright? Now, the Renaissance period. The Renaissance period was popularly known as a period of rebirth of knowledge, marked by an important development in art. Renaissance art included paintings, sculptures, architecture, music, and literature of the 14th century to the 16th century in Europe. It was generally influenced by an increased awareness of nature, a revival of classical learning, and a more individualistic view of humans. Interesting. The Renaissance period was marked by a notable shift away from the medieval principles of depicting religious forms to a more realistic and naturalistic approach. For example, the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa was created by Leonardo da Vinci, a popularly known artist. Alright, now when we look at the Mona Lisa, we see a natural approach of women of that time, as it would have stated that the artists of that time moved away from the religious themes and forms, alright, and they shifted more towards natural looking everyday life scenes. Alright, a bit more on the Renaissance. The Renaissance art emerged in Italy in the 14th century and spread throughout Europe. Art in this period depicted more realism and expressionism. Human anatomy and proportion were important, and natural posture and expressionism were depicted. Alright, so they looked at the more natural way of life, right, and the more natural representation of life and humans, and the expression of human in this period. Another major characteristic of the classical inspiration of the culture of ancient Greece and Rome. There were many classical themes, motifs, and mythological subjects of this time. Alright, now let's look at factors that influence the Renaissance period and the Renaissance art. Now, while it is believed that there was a gradual shift away from the medieval themes, the Renaissance period came to the force due to a number of influences and stood as distinct artistic period for 3 centuries. Some of the major influences of this time are the rediscovery of classical antiquity. What does that mean? The Renaissance period was characterized by a renewed interest in knowledge, art, literature, and the philosophy of ancient Greece and Rome. It was seen as a form of cultural rebirth. This new search for knowledge and the glorification of the culture of ancient Greece and Rome influenced the form of artwork in the period. The ideas of balance, harmony, and proportion are evident in Renaissance art. Alright, now when we look back at that artwork, the Mona Lisa, you will see when we talk about the natural approach and the humanistic approach, it's not just a vague representation, but the artist Leonardo da Vinci really took it upon himself to really understood the anatomy of that female, really understood the skin tone, the color scheme, right, to bring everything together. All right, and that was a really well done portraiture of that female, and up to date it's very, very popular. All right, now let's look at the second factor that influenced the Renaissance period. The humanism is another major influence. What is humanism, you might ask? Humanism is a philosophical movement that focused on human potential and human achievement. This influence took the form of focusing on human form, emotions, and experiences. Alright? Now, that in itself speaks very well. Alright? Now, the third influence is that of the patronage of wealthy individuals. These wealthy individuals are known as the Medici family and Catholic Church. These wealthy patronage commissioned artists to create paintings, sculptures, and buildings with the human focus art of the period. This patronage caused the Renaissance art to flourish. For example, Leonardo da Vinci, another painting that was created by him, is called The Last Supper. The Last Supper is also another very famous painting that is still to date. Alright, and another famous artist is Michelangelo. Michelangelo is another famous artist of this period, and one of his famous work is the creation of Adam, and this was done on the Sistine Chapel ceiling. So let's go at again. What are the three factors that influence the Renaissance period? The first one is the rediscovery of classical antiquity. The second one, humanism. The third one is the patronage of wealthy individuals such as the Medici family and the Catholic Church. Now, there you have what the Renaissance period is about, what it entails, and three factors that influence this period. I hope you would have learned something or the other, and I hope that I would have bring clarity to you in this presentation. So with no further ado, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.